Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until fasten seatbelt sign is turned off. Be careful when opening the overhead bins as the content may have shifted during the flight. You are now free to use your cell phone. Thank you for flying Coastal Airlines and member of the Charter Network.
Hello and welcome to the World Wanderers Podcast, your source for travel stories, travel destinations, and travel philosophy.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Ryan.
And we're your hosts.
Hello and welcome to Barranquilla Colombia.
Yeah, we're here for Carnaval.
Yes, Barranquilla Colombia is home to one of the biggest carnivals in the world. We've heard that it's the second biggest in Latin America, which would probably make it the second biggest in the world.
Yeah, and it's the second biggest outside of Rio de Janeiro, which if you guys have listened to the podcast for a while, then you know we went there in 2014.
Yeah, and we are really excited to explore, get to know everything about Carnaval in Barranquilla, get to know more about the city. 6 years ago, we actually took a minibus through Barranquilla on our way from Santa Marta to Cartagena, but didn't really know or see anything about the city, so it's going to be fun to find out more. And we're not here alone. We actually have a few friends in town as well.
Yeah, so it'll be super fun to meet up with some friends, listen to some samba, maybe some reggaeton, get to experience Carnaval in a new country. Well, not a new country, get to experience Carnaval in a country that we haven't experienced Carnaval in before, as well as get to know a new city in a country that we haven't been to for quite a while now.
Absolutely. So we're about to head out, get some supplies, and we'll check in with you a little bit later in the evening. So we headed out from our hotel and walked a few blocks over to a very popular bar by the main stadium in Barranquilla, which is where we met up with our friends Sasha and Rachel and their good friend Leo. Leo was our insider into Carnaval and to where to go and what to do, so we ended up finding a nice little spot to enjoy a few adult beverages before heading out to the next stage of our adventure. But before we did that, we needed to grab some food.
Yeah, so if you've ever wondered what I sound like with a arepa in my mouth, here it is.
Fantastic.
We're making an audio clip about Carnaval. What do you think so far?
It's amazing. I'm really happy to be here with you guys.
We're happy to be here with you too.
Okay, so why did you decide to come to Carnaval in Barranquilla?
To hang out with you guys.
Other than that, apparently it's the second biggest one in the world, and we've been to the biggest one.
Everyone outside of Brazil claims that they're the second biggest one in the world.
Mazatlan.
They say the same thing in Mazatlan.
Mazatlan also thinks they're the second biggest.
Which is where we went in 2017. In 2017, we went to Mazatlan, and
they say they're the second biggest carnival.
We went to Brazil. We went to Recife, Olinda, and Rio, and then in 2018, we didn't do a Carnival celebration.
No, we did. That was 2018.
Oh.
We didn't do one last year.
Oh, okay. We didn't do one last year, and now 2020, we're here with you guys. And
I'm just trying to figure out if it is the second biggest one or not.
It's the second biggest one, but I feel like everyone outside of Brazil says that.
Well, when you have a local homie, like you know a friend from the area.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's exciting.
How does Barranquilla compare to Mazatlan so far?
Well, Mazatlan was all along the Malecon, so it's on the ocean.
Malecon is just straight from here. Straight.
Well, but
Mazatlan was
we're
a little
talking
more.
about the one in Mazatlan.
It's a little more accessible.
It's confined
very easy
to
to find.
one area.
Oh, really?
On the,
Same thing every night.
on the Malecon, and you're right on the ocean, and they have like 6 stages of music and bandas.
That's sweet.
There's a lot of dancing, but it's all confined to one area. And you have to have a ticket to go in the area. Whereas here in Barranquilla, it seems like Carnival is all over the city. Like we were just in one area just now, and now we're taking a taxi to a completely different part of the city that's far enough away where we have to take a taxi. So
In Mazatlan, if you're not walking on the Malecon, you're in the wrong place.
Exactly.
It's the only place for
That's
Carnival.
like one of the biggest differences. And in
There's no
Rio,
Blocos.
So in Rio, it's like there's just Blocos, and that's really the main thing about Rio Carnival. Is
I
there's
think
Blocos
the thing
everywhere.
of Barranquilla is the carnival is like a really local party. Like people really take it like this is my party.
Yeah.
So they
It's
celebrate
for the
everywhere.
people.
It's for
What
the
is it?
people.
¿Quién
So
lo
people
vives?
decorate the houses
What's
and
the
stuff.
saying?
¿Quién lo
What's the saying?
vives?
In Spanish?
Oye, debe ser
¿Quién-
Barranquilla.
Quien lo vive es quien lo goza.
Quien lo vive es quien lo goza. Sí.
So from the downtown area, we took a cab over to a different area of Barranquilla to do Baila la Calle. And this last clip that you just heard with lots of laughter, me eating an arepa, was the 5 of us in a taxi cab getting over to Baila la Calle. And we spent the rest of night 1 at Baila la Calle. There was hundreds, thousands of people out in the street. And we just went from one area to the other, dancing, listening to music, drinking beers, all that type of good Carnaval stuff. And we catch up with you again, morning 2, day 2 of Barranquilla Carnaval.
So it is the morning of our second day here in Barranquilla. We had a very fun, very eventful night last night, roaming around the streets and enjoying Carnaval. And you can probably hear, again in the background at our hotel, out in the front entrance area, there is some music going on. There is actually, we think Miss Colombia is here dressed up in her Carnival Queen outfit.
Yeah, some woman who's dolled up with a sash that says Miss Colombia 2019 is here at our hotel. And it's kind of interesting. So normally we stay in Airbnbs, and when we were looking for Airbnbs here in Barranquilla, we couldn't really find anything, and so we ended up booking a hotel on Hotwire. And it turns out we're staying at this giant kind of nice hotel. They had a big event here last night to kick off Carnaval. It seems like there's another one here tonight, which is Saturday, so the first official day of Carnaval. Lots of stuff going on, and yeah, Miss Colombia is here, so that's interesting.
Yeah, and so last night we headed out and really didn't have much of a plan. We'd actually, a guy took language lessons who's from Barranquilla and told me that one of his favorite things to do is called Baila la Calle.
Baila en la Calle.
Which is like dance in the street. And do you want to give a quick overview of what Baila en la Calle is?
Yeah, I mean, it translates to dance in the street, and it's pretty much just that. So we headed out, we met up with our friends Rachel and Sasha from Grateful Gypsies, who we're here with. They had a couple other friends as well, so we had a nice little crew. We kind of just hung out on the street for a while. So to give you guys a picture, when you get into kind of the main areas, the main plazas of Barranquilla, there is just people everywhere. There are a ton of people just with styrofoam coolers, hawking beers. There are street vendors everywhere. So basically you can just buy a beer, buy a meat stick, buy an arepa, and you can stand and celebrate. There's music happening. It's super lively. There's lots of stuff going on. And so we spent a good chunk of the night just kind of in the street, on street corners, outside of liquor stores, by food markets, by food stalls, all that type of stuff. And we met some local people, and they said, okay, here's where you go to the Baila en la Calle, which is kind of interesting because all it said online is that it's on Carrera 50, so this 50th Street. 50th Street is 450 blocks in Barranquilla, so that's not really clear as to where you're supposed to go, but really it's just kind of this moving party, and there are people who have big speakers outside of their cars. We went to this pharmacy that had a ton of really good reggaeton and stuff playing, and basically you kind of just walk down the street finding different areas where people are dancing and singing and good music is playing. And again, there's all these people selling beer and food and all this good stuff. So it really is just people dancing in the street. And we were talking about it this morning about just how fun it is to be somewhere where that's something that's totally okay to do. And so far, I'm feeling like this might be my favorite Carnaval. So we mentioned yesterday, or in one of the last clips, that we've been in Rio, and I've also been to Mardi Gras, and we're really excited to kind of, compare and contrast and just learn more about the traditions of Carnaval in general. But so far, I'm really liking Barranquilla.
Yeah, and so now it's the morning, and we are going to take some much-needed recuperation time to get our energy up because we've got a big fun event coming up tonight. So on our second morning, after some much-needed energizing and rest time in the morning, we met up with Sasha, Rachel, and Leo again to head down to the parade grounds. The parades happen along the same area each day, and they go on day after day. And the one thing that's the same about all of them, even though they change theme and change people, is the scale. They're all big, they're all full of energy. And so on that first day, we were excited to get down there to find out what it was all about. And after we got back, we recorded a clip to let you guys know how it was. So we are back at our hotel. As you can hear in the background, there's once again lots of Carnaval music going on.
The sounds of Carnaval, we shall call them.
And we just got back from checking out the parade in Barranquilla. And so there's lots of events happening all over the city. One of the big ones is the big Carnaval parade, which actually goes for, I think, 6 hours.
Yeah, and so it starts around 1 p.m. and it goes, like Ryan said, towards 6:30, 7 o'clock. It'll still be going. It runs along a huge street called Via Cuarenta, and basically they've got a ton of different stuff set up there. There's people selling beer, as always, food vendors going. There's people just on the street shooting foam everywhere. And then there's a bunch of different sections of bleachers. So there's different prices depending on if you're shaded or if you're not shaded. We got there a little bit later. We didn't get there till probably about 3 or 4. And so we just stood kind of behind the bleachers that weren't as high up. And we were able to watch the parade from there and get a little taste for what it was like.
Yeah, tons and tons of different things going on. People dressed up in costumes, from everything from Carnaval specific to a group of people dressed as Star Wars characters. Giant floats, lots of big trucks with music playing and all sorts of type. Lots of foam being sprayed, water being sprayed around.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like once somebody unleashes the foam, you either just get hit with it or you can kind of try and dodge it, which is sort of hard. But it's kind of weird. It kind of smells like soap.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like in a giant silly string container, and it just sprays foam. It's really annoying, but apparently fun for 3 people who are doing it.
It's kind of interesting, though. We've been with our friends Sasha and Rachel from Grateful Gypsies, and they also have a local friend named Leo. He grew up in Barranquilla. He now lives in Bogota. He's here for the weekend as well, and so he's been giving us some local pointers. And he said, before 10 years ago, they actually just used cornstarch with water that was often dyed colors. And so for me, I much prefer the foam to somebody throwing wet cornstarch at me. So
100%. Yeah, and so that parade actually happens, I think, 3 different days. And then tonight, like every night in Carnaval, there's lots of different parties happening. But we are actually going to a big concert, the Super Concierto.
Yeah, and so we're going because J Balvin's playing. And so if you guys have followed us for a while, we really like reggaeton music, and J Balvin is one of our favorite artists. And we've actually seen him in concert twice before, so this isn't a sort of new endeavor or experience for us, but we're really excited to experience J Balvin in Colombia because he's actually Colombian. He's from Medellin, and I think it'll be really cool to see him kind of in his home country performing for Carnaval. That must be pretty special for him.
Yeah, and so we are off to check that out.
So Barranquilla is a massive city, and right in the heart of the city is a really, really large soccer stadium, and that is the stadium that J Balvin played at for the second night of Carnaval. And we felt super lucky to be able to get tickets to this. We had got them before we even came to Colombia. And this was one of the things we were looking forward to the most with our trip to Barranquilla. And so we headed out to the concert and we waited in a massive line to get in. For those of you who have done an event in Central or South America, anywhere in Latin America, you probably know what this is all about. So basically, we find the entrance we need to go into. It's pretty unclear where that is. We just keep asking people. They keep sending us to, the other side of the stadium. By the time we actually got there, we'd walked around most of the stadium and we see our entrance followed by a gigantic line that is blocked off by police that are riding horses to keep people, in line and not budging. And so we get into the line and I was like, we're going to miss J Balvin play. This line is massive. But fortunately enough, that started moving pretty fast. Once they let us in, we were able to find our seats pretty easily. And from there on out, it was super chill. We had expected to wait a little bit for J Balvin to come on just because there was other artists that were playing before him. So we caught a couple of smaller name artists while we were waiting. We ended up waiting in total about an hour for him to come on. And then the rest of the night was just pure reggaeton magic.
Yeah, it was such a cool experience to be able to see a concert like that in a big soccer stadium, open air, and like a warm night in Colombia, watching like a Colombian artist play. Well, 30, 40,000 people, I don't even know how many people were there, just loving it, enjoying it. One of the coolest experiences I think we've had traveling. So that was really, really cool to see. And it was kind of a funny experience at the actual stadium. I think we went in being like, okay, we're going to get some drinks. It's going to be great. And we found out that the only thing they sold there was actually bottles of aguardiente, which is essentially a less strong but unaged version of rum, really popular in a few different countries in Latin America. So we decided to pass on that, but enjoyed the concert nonetheless, had a really amazing time. If any of you guys haven't, you might have probably heard some of his songs in passing, but definitely go check out some of J Balvin's music. He's one of our favorite artists. And later that night, we just walked home, got some chips from a pharmacy on the way home, and then prepared for the next day where we were heading out to the parade again, but we wanted to do it right.
Yeah, we had a really good time checking out the parade on our first day in Barranquilla, but we really wanted to check out the bleachers. We thought that we would be able to get some affordable tickets. It would give us a space in the shade. It would mean less likelihood of getting hit by water and foam and cornstarch and everything that they throw on the streets in Barranquilla. And don't get me wrong, I think those traditions are awesome, but we thought it'd be fun to just really sit down and enjoy the parade as opposed to just being able to watch it more from a distance. So we figured we would go out earlier in the day, get tickets, and spend most of the day doing the parade. And that is exactly what we did on our third day in Barranquilla. So we are currently in one of the bleachers, waiting for the parade to happen here on day 3 of our trip in Barranquilla. It's pretty awesome. We're up on these bleachers. We're shaded from the sun. There's lots of music and noise and things happening, as you can probably hear in the background. People selling food and drinks and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's probably, I have no idea, like definitely a few kilometers, maybe like 5K long of just stands for the parade. It's kind of, we were walking on the other side and then crossing back over, you get to look both directions just as far as I can see on this extremely straight street. There's bleachers and seats and stuff, so it's really kind of cool to see, and hopefully this parade gets started sometime soon.
All right, so we just got back from day 3 of Carnaval here in Barranquilla, and we spent the day kind of walking around and taking in some of the activities and events, and then also watching one of the parades that was along Via 40.
Yeah, so there is a really long parade route. I think that it must go on for like a number of kilometers, and it's quite cool. Each day, I think of the 3 days over the weekend, and maybe continuing on, there's a parade, but at least a couple days. And so on Saturday, the parade we watched was, I don't know what the difference would be. Apparently it's like the biggest parade, but today's parade was still long, still tons of people, but a little bit less rowdy. So we were able to find cheap tickets to actually go sit in one of the bleachers, which made the experience so much nicer to sit in shade, to be able to have a good sight line of the parade. And it was all different types of kind of cultural folklore. So there's different groups and all types of dress. Colombia is a very diverse country in terms of the types of people. There's the Spanish influence, there's African influence, there's the Native American influence. So many different influences, so many different cultures combining here, and there's displays of that throughout this whole parade as different groups kind of set up and come and dance and play music, and goes on for maybe 5 hours, all back to back to back.
Yeah, it was really, really neat to watch. And like Ryan mentioned, we were up in the bleachers, which are called the palcos. And we had looked at buying tickets beforehand, but the only tickets we could find online were actually for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And they were probably about $100. And so we opted out of doing that. We decided we'll just figure it out once we get there. And so the Saturday, as you guys know, we went and just kind of watched from behind the lower stands. So there's different types, different prices. And then on Sunday, we're like, let's try and actually get tickets. Tons of people were selling tickets. And I think that's probably the case for all days. Maybe Saturday's a little bit harder, maybe a little bit more expensive, but Sunday was super available, and we were able to negotiate them down to 30,000 Colombian pesos each, which is about $10 US. And honestly, it was really, really great use of money. You go in, you're in a closed off area. There was lots of space. People were super friendly. There's somebody who will like bring you beers and food that you pay for, obviously. There's access to bathrooms, which is really nice. And so now we are back at our apartment, or back at our hotel, I guess I should say. We just ate some really good food. We tried mote de queso, which is a traditional coastal dish here in Colombia, and it was super delicious. We're having a quick little refresh before we head out for the evening.
So on our third night in Barranquilla, after enjoying the parade, we went out to a couple of the spots that we'd been to before, just kind of areas near the center of town where there tended to be quite a few people congregating, and had a few drinks and enjoyed chatting with people and had some good food. A couple fried potato balls that were really delicious, although when you just say what they are, it doesn't really come across the same way. Trust me, though, they were delicious, especially with a few aguilas to go along the side of them. And one of the really cool things about a weekend like this in general, but especially meeting up with friends to go to an event like Carnaval, is you get to hang out with your friends, and also you get to meet other people, because there's more than just one or two of you there. As you're kind of all hanging out, you're all meeting people, then you're all intermingling with other people. And one of the people we got to meet through Sasha and Rachel is their friend Leo, who's from Barranquilla, and was a really, one, an awesome guy, but two, a great person to have traveling with us that weekend, because he'd been there and done that before. He knew kind of where to go, knew how things work, and was, a level of Spanish much, much higher than ours, able to deal with kind of any weird situations that come up. But we wanted to get Leo on to talk a bit more about what Carnaval in Barranquilla kind of means to him and the area, and give us a bit more perspective on it. So one of our evenings, we pulled out our recorder and asked Leo some questions.
All right, we are on the street. It's super noisy, and we have our friend Leo here with us, and Leo's local. Where are you from, Leo?
I'm from Cincelejo.
Where is that?
That's like 3 hours from Barranquilla and 2 hours from Cartagena.
Amazing. And how many years did you live in Barranquilla for?
In total, like 4 years, but split them like 1 year and then another year.
Yeah. It's been really cool having you here with us for Carnaval, because I feel like you've showed us so many cool local things. And one of the things I'm curious about is just what Carnaval kind of means to you as a Colombian.
Well, like, you wait the whole year for Carnival, so you can imagine how excited we get when the time comes. Like, okay, it's Carnival time. So it's a big thing, a really big thing.
Yeah, and what's your favorite part about Carnaval?
Not getting drunk on the streets, meet new people, make new friends, have fun. It's like.
Do you get more excited about Carnival or Christmas?
Of course, Carnival.
Yeah.
Of course. You say that like it's obvious.
Yeah, of course. But Christmas. I think Barranquilla is a crazy city. Like, there is a party all the time here, so it's a party city. So when the Carnival comes, it's like, okay, we have another excuse to still partying, and it just fucked up. Yeah,
I love it. And so if somebody is coming for Carnaval in Barranquilla, like, what do they need to do? What do they need to know?
The first thing they have to do is to come to La Troja.
Okay. We can see it from here. It's pretty crazy.
They have to come to La Troja, and then whatever is going to happen, You don't know what's going to happen when you come to La Troja.
So,
the only thing you know is you're going to have fun.
Okay, so go to La Troja with no plans and just be prepared for an epic night.
Yeah.
And something you said earlier that stood out to me was that people in Barranquilla are just like happy all the time, and that kind of like makes a difference.
Yeah, that's what makes a difference. That we are happy all the time. So when the Carnival comes, it's not just like, okay, we have to party now. No, we have been partying the whole year. Just now, you can do some stuff that you normally don't do, like being full of motor oil.
Maybe not that.
Well, they do it.
We saw that. Not my favorite costume to date.
I wear costumes and stuff. It's that. Like, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's like a freedom.
Yeah.
Like a freedom time.
One of the things that seems cool here compared to like Rio, or I've also been to Mardi Gras in New Orleans, is that people seem to dress like they have like team outfits or like group outfits.
Yeah. I think the group of things is like they don't want to lose other people, so they want to spot them really easily, so they wear the same t-shirt and stuff, like, oh, these are my friends, so they can find them.
It's so fun. I remember going to Rio and being stressed because I was like, how am I going to dress like a Carnaval girl? And I was like, I don't have any clothes for this in my backpack. And here it's been like so chill.
Yeah, like sometimes like the first time I was in Carnival in Barranquilla, like many years ago, I was wondering what to wear. But then I just looked through the window, I saw everybody just wearing whatever they want. It's like, okay, you can just chill.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Whatever you use, whatever you wear, it's gonna be alright because it's the carnival, you know?
Yeah.
You can be naked if you want. It's okay.
We haven't seen that yet. There's still time though.
Yeah.
So it was awesome to chat with Leo a bit more and find a bit more about what Carnival means to him. And now we are back actually in Canada. It's been a while since Carnaval, but we wanted to take some time to kind of recap everything. So after our last night, the third night in Barranquilla, we had a bit of an adventure and went on to Santa Marta. Santa Marta, a place that we first went to, the second city we'd ever been to in Colombia in 2014. We were so excited to go back in 2020 and to be able to combine Carnaval with an experience going back to a city we loved.
Yeah, so just to give you the quick, brief overview of what our adventures look like getting from Barranquilla to Santa Marta, we had a transport booked that I'd booked before we even left Panama. And so we had tickets for this little mini bus, I guess you could call it, a colectivo. And so we had a pretty relaxing last morning in Barranquilla. We spent some time by the pool. We had a nice breakfast. We packed everything up and relaxed a little bit before heading on over to the bus station. And we get over to this little office where this company runs, and there is just a ton of people there, like so many people. And we're like, wow, there's a lot of people that are trying to go different destinations. And most people were either going Cartagena or Santa Marta. And we go in, we confirm that we have tickets, everything's all good. And we're waiting for our bus. Finally, our bus shows up probably about 25 minutes late, and we get in the line to get on the bus, and our time to board the bus happens, and there's no more space left for us. And there was the two of us, Ryan and I, plus I think about 5 others that ended up being left behind in Barranquilla. And the company was, we're not even going to tell you what the company was because it was no bueno. We do not recommend them. We will not be taking transport with them again. It was very poorly handled and it was very unprofessional. We were dismissed as if, we didn't matter and stuff like that, which is not entirely uncommon in some South American countries, unfortunately. But what is fortunate is that we were able to get an in-driver. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with in-driver, it's an app where you put in your destination, sort of similar to Uber, but then you can offer a price and they can say yes or no. And so we happened to find a young guy with a nice car who was down to make the 2-hour trip from Barranquilla to Santa Marta. And we split the trip with a Dutch guy who had also got left behind. So shout out to our Dutch friend who organized the who organized the in-driver for us. And honestly, we had a great trip between Barranquilla and Santa Marta. So I think if we do that again, we'll just get an in-driver to start with or a private transport or something like that. And arriving in Santa Marta was amazing. It was the second place that we had ever visited in Colombia when we went back in 2014. And we had such a lovely time being back in Santa Marta, enjoying some restaurants that we've been to before, enjoying the sights, the sounds, going back there with a higher level of Spanish, being there with our friends Sasha and Rachel. And it was the best last couple of days to finish off our Colombia trip. And so to take us back to Carnaval and wrap that up, we're going to just chat a little bit about our thoughts and feelings around Carnaval. So first question for you, Ryan. What did you think of Barranquilla Carnaval?
I really loved it. It's been fun now, a couple months removed from that experience, just reliving it through some of our audio clips, some of our photos, some of our memories. But it was just really such a good experience. This is, as you'd mentioned previously, the second Carnival that we'd been to. And I suppose the third for you, Amanda, since you've been to Mardi Gras. But we went in Rio de Janeiro, which is kind of like, I don't know what the metaphor would be, but it's kind of the most popular, the most famous, the most flashy experience. And Barranquilla is a lot more subtle, and it's not chill by any means. There's so much energy, excitement going on, so much music, dancing, but it's a lot more low key, a lot more down to earth, I would say, and just so much fun. And don't get me wrong, Rio is amazing and tons of fun to be had, but it's the type of thing you book a year in advance. You need to find accommodation. Accommodation is going to be expensive. Everywhere you go is going to be packed with people. There was something just very like open, welcoming, and authentic about the experience in Barranquilla, and having someone who's from that area there with us to kind of show us around and help us find things to do was really cool as well. But just day to day, the experience, getting to see the parades, getting to go out at night, and the kind of almost homemadeness of the event, like being out on the street and there's just, there's a kid and he's picking up cans, and there's another kid and he's selling beers, and there's an older person selling food, and everyone's just really entrepreneurial, doing things themselves. It's not overproduced. It's very much an organic and emerging thing that's coming from the people. And that was just so cool. And again, I think it's the type of thing where if we were in the area, I would go back again and again. I don't think that's the type of thing that's once in a life. I think it could be, but I think it's also the type of thing where you could enjoy that year in and year out. So for me, it was such a good experience, and the type of thing where before we really started traveling quite extensively in Latin America, never had heard about it at all, really. I'd heard about, Carnaval in Rio, but I didn't know about other ones in other places. So really, really stellar experience, type of thing that I would easily go back to again and would definitely recommend other people to check out. What about you?
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything that you just said. I feel like you covered, so much of the magic that is Barranquilla Carnaval, and that is going on the street and having kind of this organized chaos or this organized party, and it's like everyone kind of knows what's going on, and it doesn't feel like anything super extravagant or luxurious, yet it feels very true to Barranquilla and to Colombia, and I loved that about it. When we were in Rio de Janeiro, I felt like I was underdressed. I felt like I needed a costume. I felt like it was a lot more, I guess, like fancy and kind of put together. And maybe that's not true to the experience across all of Brazil, but that was my personal experience. And, I felt just very comfortable being on the street in Barranquilla, and we had an awesome group of people. It was amazing having Leo there with us. It was super fun to see the parades and to walk around the city, to see J Balvin play. I feel like we had a really good balance between good nightlife, good activities during the day, and overall, Barranquilla is a really interesting place for this big carnival to take place. And I agree with you. If we were in the area or somewhere close, I would 100% go back. If any of you are considering a carnival and maybe you feel kind of overwhelmed by the decision, I would definitely recommend Barranquilla Carnaval. Or if you're going to be in that area, definitely see if you can get there for future carnivals. I mean, at this point, we don't know if there's going to be a 2021 carnival. Hopefully it's safe enough that we can have that. And hopefully we'll be able to travel again. But if not, I know that Carnaval is going to live on in Latin America. So definitely, go check out the experience, because it is really cool. And especially for us as Canadians, we don't have anything like Carnaval in our culture and in our country. And it's just a really fun tradition to get to be a part of.
Yeah, and it's so cool to be able to go to events like this outside of Canada. I think, growing up in Canada, the US, or, certain parts of Europe is amazing. Like, we have safety and security and a lot of things that are really, really, life enriching. But I remember going to Running to the Bulls in Pamplona in 2011, which was one of our first travel experiences together. And just the kind of chaoticness of it, and how not managed it was. It's just everyone out in the street, everyone having a good time. It kind of relies on the faith and the good nature of people. You don't need to go and be in a beer garden to drink and pay $7 for one type of beer that sponsored the event. It's a free experience. And that's definitely true of Barranquilla as well. And I think something that if you haven't experienced, you need to go experience something like that somewhere, some type of like big festival outside of, Canada, the US, somewhere where it's a lot more open and a lot more kind of free, if you would.
Absolutely. So that concludes our episode of Barranquilla Carnaval 2020. We hope that you enjoyed getting transported from your home, wherever you're listening to Barranquilla with us for a little bit of time. We hope that you are staying safe, staying well, and all of that good stuff. On this episode of the show, you heard from our friends Sasha and Rachel from Grateful Gypsies. If you guys want to hear more from them, they've actually been on the podcast a number of times, so you can find those episodes, or you can check them out at gratefulgypsies.com or Grateful Gypsies on all social media platforms to see more photos, video footage, and so much other good stuff from Carnaval, as well as all of their other adventures.
And if you're listening to this pretty recently after it came out, we'll be still in the middle of a global pandemic. So again, from us, we're just hoping that everything's going well from you, that you're making the best of this hard situation. And we hope that this episode was a reprieve and a way to think about travel and maybe escape for a little bit into a festival in a different country and start thinking about those travel adventures in the future for a time when we're able to get out there and explore the globe once again.
Bye, friends.
To find more information, relevant links, and photos talked about in this week's episode, check out theworldwanderers.com.
If you have a question, comment, or feedback, send us an email at info@theworldwanderers.com. Join our community on Facebook at The World Wanderers or on Twitter at World Wanderers 1. As always, thanks so much for listening.
Have a great day.
Bye.